Episode 143 of the BIC Podcast. A light episode. We're going to have some fun talking about your comments. And now that we've turned over, so we're recording this already on the first day of September, it has officially crossed over into the new month. And what that means is we're basically 2 months away from Expo time. Should we start the countdown to Expo right now? Is it too soon?
I just want you to know I bought new sneakers this weekend. Comfortable shoes.
Brandon, it's practically Expo season. We can feel it in the air. It is arriving. Yes, all we got to do is get past the Halloween and the Zombie Ray Borks, and we are this much closer to the Toronto Expo Fall Edition. It's going to be very exciting. So we'll do the regular segments. Silly Card of the Week. We got some pickups. Eric was at a card show, so that works out. Brandon has some pickups. I got a couple of things we're going to share. And because, like I said, it's merely months away from Expo, I'm going to reveal something that I was playing around with because Carlos decided to have a little bit of fun with AI. And then also, like I said, a little trip down memory lane. See, I didn't tell the guys about this part, but it's going to come into play into the Expo thing. So Carlos had a little bit of fun with AI. That'll be a little mini segment. And then at the very end, we'll do a little trip down memory lane. That and more in this episode of the BIC Podcast. Yes, under the watchful eyes of Brett Favre. Another episode here. And yes, I didn't tell the guys about my little foray into AI, but you got to keep things interesting. That's the only way that you can make it happen. You got to hit record and then get people's responses and reactions in real time. That's the fun part. But regardless, we'll go into a couple different things. So let me start off with this. Let's do the silly card of the week. I'll start off with showing the results from last week, and then we'll show off the new examples as well. And then we'll get into it. And again, this will be a community post that will be available. You'll all be able to see it. As always, it is the only true democracy in this world. Vote early and vote often. So we did get a decent amount of votes this week. Although, like I said, I was hoping we'd be able to match or beat last week's, but still pretty good. So we got 41 votes. So Golf Practice was the winner with 56% of the popular vote. There was a two-way tie with Team No Effort and the Islander captain. So we do appreciate all of them got some votes, but 56% is the majority that says Golf Practice. And we got 6 likes. That's also very good. Again, Eric does pay for all the likes, so we do appreciate the extra likes included in there. It's a lovely bonus. The people were appreciating Eric. They liked the poll. They liked the examples provided. So that's always very good. Now we do have some silly card of the week candidates here. So let me bring those up as well. And then we'll get into those. So let me share this and let's go here. Some interesting examples this week. We're going to see how this one plays out. We all took very, very different approaches. I'll just say that. This time around, we don't have a specific theme. Although I will agree that all of them are silly. That part I am in agreement with. Beyond that, I think we all took completely different approaches to how we arrived at silly, but I shall provide you all the examples. So here we go. Again, all of these will be available in the community post. It will be included in there. And as always, the silly card of the week is brought to us by your friends at AMG Collectibles. AMGcollectibles.ca, the AMG Collectibles YouTube channel. Since it is a holiday Monday, nonetheless, on Tuesday, I will record an episode with the collector of the scallops, the collector of the people, Steve. He's provided me some cards, and we've got some stuff that's going to come in the shop. So we'll talk all about that this upcoming episode. Links in the description to everything. Thank you, as always, to AMG for supporting the podcast and the channel. So here we go. Let's go to the silly card of the week candidates that we got for this week. And we'll start off with this one right here. We got social studies. So this one's an Eric special. Eric, you like the emojis? You're hip with the youths. What's going on?
I was sorting some cards at work. This came up, and I went, "This is this week's silly card of the week. This is utterly ridiculous. The future has arrived. His name is Dame Sar. I don't know who that is. I don't know what he does for a living. It looks like
we not even consider that he's coming out of a cell phone. Isn't that a bigger problem for you?
Yeah, he's coming out of a cell phone. He's the GOAT. He's the star of the show. He somehow is taking a social studies class somewhere. I mean, this is the most ridiculous freaking thing I have seen in a while. I don't know if this is put into a lower end kids product. I have no idea. But
the answer's in the corner. It's Bowman U Chrome.
Not a lower end kid product.
That's not a low end product.
But I have no idea. Okay, I just know that my opinion. People can like whatever they want. We've been over that 1,000 times, and I still firmly believe that. Man, if people think this is great, then good for you. Collect them all, just like the Pokemans. But for someone who just does vintage and appreciates vintage, all sports vintage, I appreciate them. I only collect vintage hockey, but I appreciate all sports vintage. This is utter freaking nonsense. It has to stop. This is not what I signed up for. This is stupid.
I want to give them props. So I'm going to go the opposite direction here. That's some good photoshopping. Like we see some team no effort on a lot of these damn cards today.
We do.
And to get them to pop out of the phone like that, I think that's a pretty slick idea. And they did well on it. So I'm going to compliment it.
Look, and I'll be completely honest with you. The only thing I see on here that's silly to me is that Dame Sar here is not in a penny sleeve. What the hell, Eric? What kind of Mickey Mouse operation are you running over there in the biggest card shop in New England where you can't afford a penny sleeve for Dame Sar?
And can we just make it official? We know why Eric picked this card. It has nothing to do with the imagery. It has nothing to do with the emojis. It has nothing to do with Dame Sar and Eric not knowing how it is. It is his unwillingness to accept that anyone else can be called the GOAT other than Geoff Wilson. That's why he picked this.
Self-serving is what it is.
That's the whole reason.
Hashtag self-serving.
There can be only one. They made a whole movie about it.
Hashtag exposed.
Well, they also had the TV series, Eric. Don't forget about the TV series.
Yeah, there can be only one. All right. And this kid is not the GOAT. Geoff Wilson's the GOAT. We know that. That is not debatable. He is the GOAT. This kid is not. End of conversation.
Brandon, I got to say, we'll see about that when Geoff manages to find his way and teleport out of a cell phone. When I see him teleport out of a cell phone, I'm only having this conversation. Right now, I'm not willing to have this conversation.
We got to.
So that is the first option.
I gotta get Tim to hook us up with a meeting. We gotta sit down with him up in Toronto area, up in the Mississaugas. We gotta find Jeff and talk to him.
So that's our first option. Second option. Terrell Owens power up. Brandon, what say you?
So I went with this one just because it's football season coming up. There's baseball versions of these that I also seen, and they all look pretty silly. Obviously, to Eric, this might look normal. Many of the cards had the players. Also, I want to point out, as you see, T.O. here is wearing his 49ers uniform with the Eagles logo. There was other players that they also just slapped their new team on, but kept them in the old logos. But, I mean, even for the purpose they're going with here, it is so, stretched and angled and I forgot the Photoshop term of it, of where they, pull and everything, but it's just ridiculous. There's another one, just spoiler alert, there was another version of the Power Up series. I think it was called Cutting Through or something like that. I can't remember the name of it, but it was Power Up and then something. And there was a Favre that I almost used. And then I started to notice it had its own little theme where the players jumping into the card from the side of it. Maybe with Eric's coming out of the cell phone choice, I should have probably used that, so we could have had a small theme. But yeah, I mean, it just, this isn't big head, this is just disproportionate. So
it is an option. That is an intriguing take that you're using there.
That is
option number 2.
His left shoulder pad, to our right, looking at it, but the left shoulder pad is much larger than the right shoulder pad.
It's completely, his legs are different sizes. It's completely disproportionate.
Yeah, that is just nonsense.
It's a little bit of funhouse kind of material going on. Yeah. So that is option number 2. Number 3, I thought we would go for some art. Eric, I think it's time we elevate ourselves. We're not talking about a $13 million, 12 and change, almost $13 million-ish, Kevin O'Leary thinks is art. I mean art. Real art. Okay. Classic art. Allow me to offer you the Scream Pokemon interpretation.
Oh, good Jesus.
Google the Scream, and you'll understand exactly. Eric, you know what I'm saying when I say the Scream.
Yes, I am educated enough to know that painting.
Well, what about Pokemon Psyduck, the Scream? See? Look at it. This right here is Eric when Dunkin' Donuts says they're out of chocolate sticks.
That's true. That is true.
Scream. Art. See, Eric? Art. I'm bringing culture. Culture.
You are bringing a little culture with that one. That's very
Mhm.
disrespectful to a very famous painting.
Oh, I think it's a wonderful homage. I think it really says it, and it sells it. Like, you just look at the duck is screaming. It's moi, chef's kiss.
Oh,
So there it is the Pokemans, X art. I feel our culture points have elevated. We've increased our culture
Carlos
points.
brought out the Pokemans. I don't think we've
Yes.
ever used a Pokemon on here.
Now, Brandon, and I wasn't just going to use any Pokemans. It had to be a Pokemans that could bring us into the realm of art. True art. So those will be your options. There will be a community post where you will be able to select your favorite for this week's option. Again, all votes are counted. It is the only true democracy in this world. Now, speaking of art, Carlos went down a rabbit hole, playing around with the old AIs. I figured I might as well, since the AI overlords are ready to take over anytime now. So the only way that we could get in good with the AI overlords is to show them the proper respect. And by that, we must understand them, Eric. We must know. We can't even say our enemy because they may be our friends and they may be our allies and they're also our overlords. Yes, Eric, go ahead.
Before you show this, is this yet another attack on me by any chance?
Allegedly.
Just wanted to prepare myself. Go ahead.
But, Eric, will it set your mind at ease to know that you are not the specific subject of the AI? It is an attack on you peripherally, but it is not direct. Let's put it this way. Eric Wade is not in the graphic. Eric Wade is nowhere in the graphic.
It's a stray.
What if I tell you that Eric Wade is not in the graphic? What if I tell you that no Boston Bruin, future, past, present, or future, is depicted in this item? And what if I told you that there is nothing pertaining to Emmanuel and Space or chocolate sticks in the image?
That makes me worry even more.
And yet I can still get to you. So, nonetheless, like I said, I was playing around, Brandon. I was playing around with the chat GPTs. I also played around with Claude. But the chat GPTs is the one that I decided to play around with a little bit. And the thing is, it's all about prompting. You got to find the right prompt. And let me tell you, it is an art form in and of itself to put in the right sequence of words and the explanations and get everything just right. And I thought to myself, the expo is coming up. And I thought, what if I could come up with something interesting? What if I could come up with something worthy that could be used, that could be shown at expo? So I started down a path, Brandon. I thought to myself, how do I combine things that Eric loves into an image that will encapsulate them beautifully? So first, this is version 1, Brandon. This is version 1. This was the first proper attempt that I was able to get. Not a bad attempt. Not a bad first attempt. Check this one out. This is pretty good. I like this. You got a smiling Marcel holding a mayonnaise jar. Marcel Dion, former NHL player, and it's like in the form of an ad. You could sell mayonnaise with this ad. Marcel Dion, former NHL player, selling it. Moi, chef's kiss. I like it. But I got to be honest, Brandon. I can do better. That was a good attempt. I liked it, but I felt like we can do better. How do we properly capture the essence? And then it hit me. I needed to add a little bit more to the prompt. I needed to be more specific. I need to clarify the situation. And what I came up with was this. Oh my goodness. Right there. We got it. The jersey is what sells it, Eric. The jersey. Mwah. Chef's kiss. That right there, Eric, that right there is a masterpiece. So the side up is art, but this right here is AI generated art. And let me tell you, Eric, listen, I don't want to spread any rumors. I don't want to concern anyone. I'm not saying that there is a printing company making a poster version of this that will make an appearance at the expo, but I'm not saying there isn't, is what I'm saying. Hashtag long con. Hashtag continuing bit, Jake. This is how I continue a bit. So right now I have laid the groundwork. I have laid us down the primrose path, and we will not speak of it again until the time is right.
You are going to ruin my friendship with this man, aren't you?
Or I am going to deepen it to levels you didn't even know were possible.
Oh my good Jesus. All right.
I mean, it is in the thumbnail of every one of these podcasts. You and him holding a big giant
Yeah.
thing of mayo, so
Eric,
it's only
think of
proper.
Think of the image of you and a smiling Marcel holding an autographed version of a smiling Marcel with a jar of mayonnaise.
One
Think
of
of it.
one.
Because I'm a swell fella, I made 2 of them, Eric. I made 2 of them.
I
Allegedly.
should just text him right now and just say, I won't be able to attend this November. I hope you have a great show. Talk to you later.
Oh no, Eric, you got to go. This is beautiful. And have you considered you could have one keepers for yourself and one you could give one to Marcel. You could have one and you can have him inscribe it. And I got the perfect inscription. You're gonna love it. So what you do is you get him to inscribe it. You don't get to describe his number of goals. You don't get to describe his accomplishments. You literally get him to describe what the fuck is this, Marcel Leon.
He he doesn't watch this crap and doesn't.
I don't care. I do not care. Brandon, do I look like a man who cares?
He has no.
This might get him to watch it.
It might get him to watch.
We could get another vote. On
Eric,
Yeah,
much like Eric, we've already established that Marcel
Oh.
Dion is nowhere near as good as Connor McDavid. But as we have also chronicled on this very program, I'm going to ask you, who has done more for Hal fucking Gill than this YouTube channel?
Nobody.
So as it's right now, Eric, by the time we're done, Marcel Dion will actually be a household name. He won't just be like random hockey guy in a booth at Expo. Hey, isn't that the hockey player guy? I don't remember him. Something. He'll be like, hey, that's the guy on the BIC podcast. Oh my God.
This poster could potentially even birth a new nickname. Just imagine Marcel Mayo. You like that? Marcel Mayo.
I'm liking all of it.
No, I don't like that.
Hmm.
I also
we
don't
all
like the fact that I see in just a couple of months that I will not be friends with this man any longer.
Mistakes were made, Eric. None on my end, because honestly, I appreciate everything that I've done. I'm very proud of everything that I've done.
Oh, it's okay. It was a good run. Marcel and I had a good run. It's all right.
Did you though, Eric?
Yeah,
Did you though?
I mean, I went. I don't know how many years has it been. Since I've met him. I went. 51. I don't know. I went. 46 years or so. 45, 46 years of not being his friend. I had a good.
Look
run.
at how happy he is. He's
Yeah,
thrilled.
Scroll down a little bit. AI still don't have the hands down yet. I know they kind of tucked the pinky up.
But look, it's a good, Brandon, you got to admit, it's a pretty good effort. And the fact that I got the 80s Kings jersey in approximation of the 80s Kings jersey, I was actually very impressed.
It's amazing how they can't do hands.
I don't know what to tell you. It's a pretty, I don't know, Eric, I got to be honest. That's a pretty darn snazzy poster, if I do say so.
Marcel kind of has the Eric smile there too.
Yes. It all comes together. Are you not, Eric, are you not seeing the vision? You got to see the vision, man.
I had the smile today. You can go and look at it. I had the smile going today on a couple of.
All I'm saying, Eric, is that it shall become your new prized possession. All right, there, I can see it right there. That shit needs to be framed and put on a wall.
Reggie's not going to be mad if you have to take the jersey down to make room for the poster back there, are you?
I'm not friends with, as much as I want to be, I'm not friends with Reggie. I really want to be. He just won't let it happen.
Well. So now
he lives down the street.
I hope those of you who watch this podcast episode, now this is important. Those of you who watch this podcast episode, my commitment to you is I'm not going to show it again until we get to the Expo episodes. So you've seen it, and I will allude to it again. When that package comes in, I will, Eric, I might do this. I might like, what? Take it off the screen. It's going to be very brief. You got a chance to sneak preview. If you paid attention, episode 143 of the BIC podcast, you got to see Eric's face as he came face to face with the future. Our AI overlords had done it.
I had a good run. I don't know.
Magoo, you did it again.
Yeah.
See, Brandon, this is what happens when Carlos runs amok with AI. It's not AI running amok. It's when Carlos runs amok with AI.
What color are you going to pick out for that one?
Yeah, this is important. You got to get the right color for the pen.
I
I
think
did it,
purple.
Eric. I did it in matte. I didn't want it to be like too shiny. I want it to be something that you can have it signed nicely on there.
I don't think he's going to play along.
I think he
I
should
think
play.
purple would be great for it to go with the jersey. There's plenty of room there. Big, nice signature.
I had a
There's
good
a
one.
wonderful visage. Imagine, and maybe this is his first step towards getting the mayonnaise sponsorship. Will
Look what he
Levis
did last
might be
year.
out of a gig. Will Levis might be out of a gig. He might be. I could see Duke's Mayo,
They're recruiting
Hellman's.
mayonnaise, or
Woo.
they're recruiting athletes for the Mayo.
Yep, he could become the man. I like it.
And
I
New
like it.
England's now lost a Mayo, you know.
We're Mayo less in New England. That's true. I see the vision. I see the vision. Eric doesn't appreciate the vision, but hopefully you, if you've seen it in the comment section, please feel free to tell us if you appreciate and see the vision. Hopefully you see it. But I also got some other stuff printed, but I'm not going to share that yet. When it shows up, I'll share the other stuff. I was working on some merch, Eric. I got some merch.
I can't imagine that's going to be good for me either.
Oh, look, the merch you're going to like. And Brandon, if you show up, you get one. I'm just saying. I have made enough. I didn't make too many, but I've made enough where there is one for you if you show up. But you got to show up. By plane, train, or automobile, figure it out, my man. All right, here we go. Let's move on. So I want to talk about some comments from last week's episode. There were some good comments, some really good engagement. Appreciate it. So I'll read through a couple of them quickly. A couple of them were a little bit more involved, but we'll get into it. Like I said, this is a light episode. We're just having some fun today. And like I said, we've got a little main topic, but it's not going to be anything too crazy. So first of all, Hodges1455 said, gave the video a like. Enjoyed the lesson, fellas. Appreciate you. Thumbs up on that. Dan's Vintage Baseball PC says, Brandon does make an excellent point. Any perceived rift, so this is talking about the modern versus vintage. Any perceived rift between modern vintage collectors seems driven primarily by content creators, generally con artists desperate for clicks. Don't talk about Big Scott like that. Geoff and Teapot's recent anti-vintage nonsense is almost certainly rage bait, seeking to create a fictitious divide to fuel engagement. It's fair, Dan. Mangini said, yes, there should not be a divide, but unfortunately there is. And I think we should help fix that. So Mangini actually had 3 different comments on there. Some good ones. So I want to make sure I read through them, but I want to get through here. Sri Ayun, apologies for that. That's just the way it comes up here on my end. A really rich guy got bamboozled and believing cars will become art. It's speaking of the Kevin O'Leary, the dual logo man. No big deal. Some publicity. And it might draw in some similar rich folks that will buy 3 or 4 high-end cards. Mr. Wonderful isn't going to be at the Holiday Inn perusing his local card show. I agree. So that just straight up, I just give that a thumbs up. I agree. Bob Boozle here says, I love cards, but I've never felt pressure to buy the rarest or most expensive card of a modern player, especially if it costs hundreds of dollars. If I can't get the out of 10 gold prism, I'm content with the cheaper out of 10 mirror purple. I'm not competing with anyone, which is fair. I think it's perfectly fine. I did respond to that though, saying somewhere in the distance, the Hoge has winced at the notion of not getting the rarest card. Just saying. The Loud Collector, Phil, has joined the chat. You have that many Medanos, Carlos? Yes, I do. Holy crap, dude. I want to see them. Maybe do a double show on Friday and do some show and tell. I answer to that in a second. The people want to see the Medanos! Exclamation points. Plus, making Louis Drew would be an excellent side bonus. 1 of 1 Medano Cup card, 2K ass is reasonable, I think. You offer 1K, meet in the middle of 1,500, and accept that you overpaid a few $100 for the card. So, to the last point, it's not an overpay anymore. The Medano guys who are willing to pay for the high end, they're just paying more. That's the reason the price has gone up. It used to be you could have gotten the shield cards for 1,000 or sub 1,000. These guys have paid more. So now the problem is they're going to go like, oh, but somebody paid $2,000 for the shield card last time. So I'm not going to sell it for less than that. And if there's at least one other person willing to do it, so the price isn't going to come back down. Supply and demand, right? The shield cards are the most prized. There are only so many, even though there are a few different ones for the cup and such. There are only so many. And right now people are willing to pay more. Like a lot of people keep forgetting. They keep saying, oh, I wouldn't think Medano's market is that expensive. Look, I would love that for that to be true. It would make me very happy if it was like, no, I love all the Medanos to be super cheap. But the reason I've been able to have a collection where over the course of time, it has cost that much is because, well, yeah, the problem is that you guys, some of the guys that are buying some of the rarer ones are actually paying good money for them. I wish that were not the case. It would be nice if it was the opposite, but no. So the really rare ones, the tougher, most desirable, do tend to go up a little bit. So I just responded, said 30 years of collecting will do. You wind up with a lot. And probably I will do an updated showcase, kind of to his original point in question. So I've got some new stuff that'll be coming in next, and then obviously by the time we get to the expo, so maybe I'll do a showcase video on some of the nicer stuff later. Phil says, I'll see your Medanos and raise your Alfreds in 30-year collection. It's a sickness we have. To this day, any Alfie lots I see, I buy them. Can't help it. Do you have them organized? It's just top tier. So it's just a question on organization. So I just say basically to answer the question. So I have some organized. A bunch of them are in the Z folios from 1990 to 2002, 2003 are in the Z folios just off screen here, just on shelf. I've showed them before. I'll actually show a Z folio later on in this episode, but not related to Medano, but I've done that. And then the other tough cards are in top loaders and one touches inside of boxes. So I've kind of showcased those boxes before. That's one thing that I've done. And kind of, I think I grabbed an image just to kind of convey part of the point as well. I did want to see if I have it here. And I took stuff like the cup. One of the ones that's a big one for me is the cup itself. And I always wanted to have those ones because they're much nicer cards. I wanted to make sure that I had them in the, that I had them separated. And I did do that. So real quick, I did take one picture the other day. So this right here is a 1600 count box. Those cards are only the cup. Nothing else but the cup.
Nice.
Yeah. So that's literally not even just upper deck. It is literally only the cup. So it's not completely full, but you got to remember, like, you know how expensive the cards are from the cup. Well, if you can fill in nearly a 1600 count box and you're filling them all up, even with thicker cards and everything, and that isn't all of them, there's a handful behind me as well. So like that's still filling up most of a 1600 count box, and that's the cup and nothing else. Not ultimate, not be a player ultimate, which was a high end in its time as well. I've got a 1600 count box of those too, so definitely filled them out into that. So that kind of answers that question. Stuke here says, did I hear you say Eric is challenged? Question mark. My response, Eric seemed to be challenging us to promote his hockey history desecration far and wide, but I like your interpretation better. The Philippines collection said, I voted for Mr. Rogers. I did my part. Sanderson to Orr responds, thank you. You've been spared hell's fury. Jeff's Card Journey says, my YouTube experience will be complete once Mike Petty puts a Kabumi card in his collection and Dan's Vintage PC shows a patch auto card. Worlds collide. Valid goals. So this is the one that Mangini said that it gave a little bit more response here. The modern hobby includes vintage. The hobby is all encompassing. Modern hobby doesn't mean modern cards. I meant Kurt's card care, whatnot, scammers, fake autos, fake slabs, ridiculously misleading eBay listings, fakes, card show thefts, promoting gambling to kids, etc. Even though the shenanigans have always happened, the digital age has elevated to insane levels. And then Bobbles and Ball Cards responded, thanks for replying back to ensure it's clear again. The discussion wasn't his targeted attack on you. So there's a whole response there. I don't want to read the whole thing because you did answer for quite a bit. He did not take it as a personal attack, which is important, included in there. But I do want to make a quick point. Same thing happened when Mangini went on Big Scott's yesterday. So at the time we're recording on the Monday, he was on an episode with him doing a live. And they kind of went back and forth. And the thing is, they were almost arguing different points, which was actually kind of entertaining in its own way. It's inadvertently entertaining. It wasn't intended. The problem is what you meant to say, and what I got out of it with what Mangini was talking about was, don't take it so literally definition. The problem is that words do have meaning. So not taking it literally, I agree. Not everything needs to be taken literally. He did take, I'm sorry that it kind of triggered you in that sense. It's like, well, the problem isn't even that it did or didn't. And the thing is, it did. What I like is that Scott kept trying to like talk around and say they did. No, it did. It elicited a response from you that then required a discussion that you're having. So indirectly, one way or the other. Brendan, my philosophy is I really don't care. Yeah, you know what they are? Junk slab era, junk wax era. Junk wax is junk wax. Commons, they're nice, but sometimes don't give a shit.
Right. And both of you know, and this is why I wanted to make sure he understood that this wasn't anybody out there. It wasn't anything to do with him. It was the topic itself. And it was just,
and he brought up the example.
Yeah. It was coincidental that he did the video not only on his channel, but then with Dustin, because I had talked to you guys about like maybe at some point us discussing the modern side, because like when people talk about collectors, it's normally deferred to the vintage crowd. Like when people hear or think collectors, that's where it goes to, the crowd doing vintage. So it was something that we had discussed, briefly a few weeks ahead of time. And then he did the video. So it was just kind of like, okay, let's take some of those takes and talk about it. But it wasn't exactly him. It was the topic. And I'm glad he explained what he meant by the modern side of it, because when he said that, I took it as it was being separated, modern and vintage. And then, of course, he's like, no, it's all encompassing. It's just the modern day of collecting, I guess, is what he meant. So,
yeah. No, that's completely fair. But one thing I would add, and this is important, and we've talked about this before, Eric, is that what you meant and what came across is not always the same thing. So sometimes there's a lack of clarity in the delivery. The delivery is everything. It's you can say two things and provide them in two completely different ways. You can say, I don't understand the modern hobby. It isn't for me. I have issues with XYZ. Or you could say, I think modern hobbyists are morons. I don't understand it. I have an issue with XYZ. If you notice, the majority of what I said both times was identical, but the preamble in the first part changes the context and the content. How people are going to respond to it is going to change in that second version of what I just said, because I added that one little piece. You could be like, oh no, but I really wanted to focus on the second half of the statement. Well, you included the first half of the statement. In Mangini's case, I'm not suggesting that's what he did, because he didn't. If you actually watch the video, he's pretty clear in what he's getting at for the most part, and I got it. And I don't take offense to it, because again, the reason I was poking fun at what I said a moment ago is that I don't take cards that seriously. I really don't care. That's why I say sometimes people, he's had videos where he talks about, why do people have to talk down their cards? Well, because maybe they want to. My response would be like, look, you want to talk down your cards? Talk down your cards. You want to make excuses about your cards? Make excuses about I don't agree. I don't think it's necessary. I think it's like, no, this is what it is. This card is in a PSA 1 or SGC 1 or whatever. It's, it's a poor condition card because it is beat up. Like, it is.
I used to buy authentic. Y'all know I bought authentics all the time, and I'd just make the joke of it. A means affordable, but I would always find the cards that I liked the look of, and at the price that I wanted to pay for them. So that's all that mattered to me, really.
Yeah. All I know is I stand with Brandon. We ride at dawn.
Wow. But that's the thing. Like, as long as you understand that, and it's okay. But you can't have this both ways. You can't be like, well, don't take me too literally, but then at the same time you get offended when someone talks about, oh, but don't call them, junk wax. It's like, yeah, it's called the junk wax era. That's the nickname it earned because there was a lot of it. That's it. That's the reason why.
And as somebody who's in this business and sees hundreds of thousands of junk wax cards a week, it's junk wax. It is absolute trash garbage. And those can be fun, and you can get them out of the dollar bin, or you can get, we actually have one bucket that if you, with bags, you can fill up an entire bag. You can get as many cards as you can, multi-sport, in this bag. We charge you $5. You go home and have a blast with them. We're not doing that with the good stuff. And there are star players on these cards. There are Hall of Famers on these cards in this bin. Okay. But they made 1 billion of them. Like, that's not even hyperbole. That they made billions of these things.
Yeah. But my point though, Eric, is that who cares? Both things can be true. One is that they printed it into oblivion, so the value of them is minimal. It's nominal. It's almost nothing. Hence the junk wax era. That's what it's called. It's an overproduction era, junk wax era. But also, number two, there could be those of us who were around during that time where it's like, no, we still like the cards. We joke about 1991 Fleer. I get a kick out of 91. When I was talking to Brandon about something related to shipping, what card did I pull? I pulled up a 1991 Fleer because it's funny. I have a complete set of 91 Fleer in a box. I have a complete set of 1991 Donruss that I got a factory set of because it tormented me when those were the first packs that I opened as a kid. 1991 Donruss baseball that is still being printed to this day in Eric's backyard. Still to this day.
90 Donruss and 91 Fleer are the two biggest WTF of who decided that red and that yellow was good. Like, why did we get ketchup and mustard for 90 Donruss and 91 Fleer? Like, why?
And I did. And the funny thing is, kind of playing into it, Eric, like I said, hopefully people that have been watching this long enough now understand the ethos of this channel, where I do not take this hobby seriously. And there are no sacred cows, and everything is worthy of mockery. Nothing is too precious. I had a mail day where 2 of the cards that I got that were included as part of the mail day were PSA graded, PSA 7, a Ken Griffey, 1991 Fleer, and a 1992 Donruss Triple Play, which was a kid's, also Ken Griffey, also in a PSA 7.
You're working on that set registry, aren't you?
I got this. I got this. The point is, I bought them on purpose. It was intentional. And not only did I buy them on purpose, I bought them in PSA 7. The melt value of the plastic is greater than what I paid for those cards. But that's not the point. That's not the point.
Those weren't even worth the shipping cost.
No, absolutely not. But the point, I got them in ComC, and I got them shipped consolidated, so it worked out fine. Yeah, so it's fine. But the point that I'm making, hopefully you're understanding what I'm getting at here. I do shit like that all the time. The Josh Rosen PC is literally that, broken up into an even larger thing. I don't care. Yep. If it was about worrying about value and all that, I don't care.
It's why, I'm kind of glad that my baseball PC guys, there's a few cards I've spent, decent money on, but for the most part, I can pick up Robles and Michael Taylor cards relatively cheap. And yeah, I have some Ken Griffey Juniors and, other star players or whatever, but the reason that I get, that I enjoy those two collections and I talk about them so much is because I can have fun in there. I can buy cool stuff and it not be expensive. And they're also players that not to Eric's level of stalking, but I've met them, had interactions with them, seen them, had discussions with them, talked to Taylor's wife, they're in the Facebook group we have, all that. So there's more of a personal connection there too than just, they're athletes. So,
but I bet even with Eric stalking, I bet the stalking relationship would blossom into more of a friendship if gifts were presented.
I have presented a gift to Taylor.
I have
Robles
not
and
contacted anybody's wives. I am not in a Facebook group with any of these former athletes or current athletes that I work with.
Yet. After you present that, I can't imagine that. Velvet ropes apart, Eric. Velvet ropes apart. How do you know he isn't like, oh my God, I love mayonnaise more than life itself? Well, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen.
He's French Canadian, so there's a good chance that he really likes it.
Like I said, it might be the bridge to friendship, Eric. You might be BFFs with Marcel by the time you're done. In which case, you're welcome.
Yeah. Okay.
Just saying. Anyway, bottom line, I wanted to.
Okay. Go ahead. Finish this point because I got a new point that I want to bring up.
All right. You make a new point. I'll finish this, and then you make a new point, and then I'll get to the rest of the comments. So, real quick, what I was getting at, the bottom line of this whole thing is the Mangini video. I enjoyed it for what it was. I think it was good discussion. And I actually think, and again, I appreciate him commenting in the comment section and elaborating on his point, and I'm perfectly happy with what he came up with. And again, I listened to the conversation with Scott, and I had no issue with anything he said on that one either. I think I understood that he was trying to present a thing a certain way, and I also understand, this will come into play in the main discussion, how you present something is going to also be a little bit left open to interpretation of the listener, but there are ways you can phrase things and try to clarify things so that hopefully the message, the problem is sometimes it's tricky to get the exact message across. You can have an intention. You can be like, I want to convey this message, but the way you present it may or may not convey that message. And it's tricky. By the way, sometimes it's really tough. You're like, I'm pretty sure I know how to get the message across that I want. And sometimes it doesn't land, and sometimes it does. And people get it and like, okay, yeah, absolutely. I agree with that point. Some people just say, yeah, I agree with the point regardless, whether it's delivered well or not. That's a different conversation. But other people may be like, I'm not clear. Like, I think this is what you're trying to say. Are you trying to say this or are you trying to say this? So I appreciate he did take the time to clarify his points a little bit more in the comment section. So go ahead, Eric. What's your point?
Well, again, I just want to repeat to Mangini, who's definitely listening, because why wouldn't he be? That the Because I'm Carlos show will be riding at dawn. We're coming for you. That's it. Be prepared.
Wow, you're going to fight him and you're going to fight Marcel Leon. That's a lot of people you're fighting. Wow.
So my new point is I think we need to make an amendment to the rules.
An amendment or an addition?
No, an amendment.
An amendment. Go on.
A replacement.
Ooh. This is big.
Yes.
Replacement would be first.
Yes, because you said something a few moments ago, which I think was brilliant. So I know you.
Wait, are we talking? Are we talking brilliant? Hold on, Eric. There's a scale. Are we talking brilliant like hashtag scholarship? Or are we talking brilliant like poster ad of Marcel Dion promoting mayonnaise?
The middle.
There's levels to this. I'm just saying. Yeah.
So go on. You said something brilliant, and so now I know I have your attention because you love being told stuff like that. So
it's all true.
Yes, true. We need to get rid of rule number 5, which is
Number
Carlos lies, Eric lies, Bobby lies, everybody lies. Okay, because that can go with maybe under corruption if we needed it to. We need to add. We need to add what you just said a few minutes ago, and replace that rule with: there are no sacred cows. We will mock everything in the hobby.
Ooh, Brandon, this appeals to all my sensibilities. Let us take a moment. Hold on. I must consider this.
I think I really think it's important.
Hold on. I need a second.
I didn't believe it was important.
Let me think. After a moment of sober reflection, I concur. So it is said, so it is done.
I second that. Brandon,
Make it unanimous.
Okay. We now have our First Amendment to our 10 Commandments.
This is historic. This is the first amendment that has been done.
So I know you have a copy. I sent you. You have a copy of the rules over there. I have the official. I have the official. We are putting an X. Okay, it's now official. An X has been drawn through rule number 5. That is no longer the rule. The amendment number 5. Oop.
September's already starting off hot.
Yep. No sacred cows. We'll mark everything in the hobby. Yes.
Okay. So our very first amendment to the 10 Commandments.
This is very exciting. It's very exciting.
I really think that was brilliant, and I think that's much better than the we all lie. We can just, if necessary, again, we can have like a sub rule under corruption and be like, we all lie, if necessary.
Some things to consider. I feel, Brandon,
I think everyone who watches the show already knows that.
It's true. I will say, Brandon, like, I got to tell you, for what seemingly was going to be an uneventful episode 143, we're already off to a roaring start out here. Like, we're on fire flames. The Marcel Dion poster was already hot fire, and then, like, we had an amendment to the rules. This is big.
Yeah.
So let me finish reading through these comments here. Dan's Finished Baseball PC says, I have nostalgia for the days before the dead on piece of chords. Response from Carlos, because I'm Carlos. 'Twas truly a simpler time. It was. So let me quickly scroll through. Mancini had another comment on nostalgia that we responded back to. I think it was important. He concluded with, I even end by saying we should build the divide that exists. And I said, absolutely not. Not where there's perfectly good content to milk the divide till the end of time. It's important. I believe that. And then lastly, Mangini, in one of his last comments, he made multiple comments. I didn't read them all because there are some. Check out the comment section. You're more than welcome to check out the comment section of last week's episode. So there's some good ones. It said, Carlos, you make some good points. Already we're off to a good start. As far as my anecdotal comment on most vintage collectors I know collect modern, while it is not true I did not survey every collector on the planet, you should survey every collector on the planet. This is important. I can tell you're intelligent and knowledgeable in the realm of marketing. All surveys take a sample size, which is true. Many times the sample size is rather small. This works because people with the same demographic and psychographics. I think psychographics might not be exactly the term, but I know what you're getting at. Have similar tastes, habits, beliefs, feelings, etc. I would argue the 100 vintage collectors I know and subscribe to fit an effective sample size, and there is an important counter I will give in a second. That's probably a higher sample percentage than they poll for our presidential elections, which I cannot disagree with this point. But then I did say, this is fair, but I should offer the counterpoint. Eric is pretty much exclusively a vintage collector. He is also certifiably insane and believes he is friends with hockey players, even though most of them are custodial workers who are simply trying to do their jobs. His demographic is clearly underrepresented in these surveys. I'm kidding. Mostly. Sort of. And that concludes our comments. A very eventful comments section as well, Brandon. We appreciate the engagement. Thank you all.
And it was quite interesting that many of the comments were directed towards the end conversation because that was at the end of the episode. So
very strong. We appreciate it. That was some good engagement. And feel free, again, join us in the comment section, especially if there's a good spirited comment section. We're happy to discuss it a little bit more at length after that. So, gentlemen, now having covered the comment section, again, this is more of a light episode. We're going to have some fun. I want to talk about pickups for a little bit. So I'm going to share one to start off with, but then obviously Eric went to a card show. I know Brandon has a couple. Let me start off with one, and we'll talk about it. I got to say, I've gone down a little bit of a rabbit hole recently. picking up a couple of Carlos Delgado cards. I was showing off some of them the other day on the previous episode. And part of the reason for that is because Carlos Delgado was one of the best power hitters of the time that I was watching the Jays. And now we're not talking about like the early era when I was watching the Jays, because that was the Joe Carter, the Roberto Alomar, the John LaRue, that team that obviously went to back-to-back World Series. But I'm talking about like in the post-World Series days, Carlos Delgado emerged as like the premier power hitter of that team, along with players like Sean Green, Shannon Stewart. Like I have fond memories of these teams. Even though they were not great teams, they weren't bad teams. So this is kind of what's funny about that, Brandon, is that during that era, they were never really contenders per se, but they were never truly terrible. It's not like they were racking up 100 lost seasons. What they were doing, you could pretty consistently rely on, they'd win between about 75 to 85 wins and wind up in third place in the division out of 5 teams over and over and over. The problem is they were behind the Yankees and the Red Sox. So they were always behind the Yankees and the Red Sox. So the thing is, like, they weren't a bad team. They just were not able to get past, the 2 big teams above them. So it was kind of interesting the way that whole time worked out. But Carlos Delgado emerged as a star during that time. So it was fun to pick up items of his. And that's what made that interesting for me. So let me share with you. I did grab a couple of different ones, and I'll share one example of one thing that kind of plays into it. And then the last one, I'll save it till the end because there's a little story to it. But let me share 3 cards that are kind of fitting under that theme, and then I'll finish with the last one after. First one. This is actually Topps Pristine, early 2000. I want to say 2004. So this is the gold refractor, number 2. I think this one's 49 if memory serves me. This one was these are available dirt cheap. They're nice cards. Like, I'm a big fan of the Topps Pristine refractors. I like them.
Listen, I was a vintage guy. That is a nice modern card right there.
They did a great job with these. I really enjoyed it. This one's actually kind of a cool one. You'll appreciate this one, Brandon. So this one right here, you got a nice gold autograph on there. This is numbered to 15. Brandon, this cost me the princely sum of $24.
Yeah, there's a lot of that stuff out there that's affordable.
When I first saw it, I thought it was a bat knob.
It does look like it. That's why I say I like the look of it. I think it has a good look. I like the paint pen. Big fan of that on the dark background. Number to 15. Again, this is a guy who maybe he'll never get there. But the point is, we'll let the committees figure that out. But I'm just saying, for a period of time, again, this is a guy who was a runner-up MVP in 2003. He put up some monster numbers in his day. And he was overshadowed because he was a first baseman in the American League in the steroid era. And you're looking at all these other guys. It's like, but he was putting up good numbers for many years. And again, one more healthy season, he's a 500 home run guy. And maybe we're looking at him a little differently.
Okay. I have a real question here.
Go ahead.
The aesthetic of the card and everything, that's nice. What is his actual name? Because I don't know how that makes Carlos Delgado.
Yeah, that's been an issue for a while. Yes, I agree.
I'm sitting there and I was like, the last letter looks like a Y.
There are some years, Brandon, where it's actually a lot more spread out and it looks more proper. But over the years, it's gotten tighter and tighter, like it shrinks, and it becomes more of a line.
Andy DeForest.
It's like, I'm like, what
I'm
the
pretty
heck?
sure. I'm not
last one,
100%, but I'm pretty sure.
Hey, listen, all I'm saying. But again, regardless of whether he ends up getting there or not, all I'm saying is that for a guy who was a great power hitter in the 90s and the 2000s, you're talking about an autograph out of 50. $24 is a bit offensive, Brandon. It's a bit sad. Like, it really is. And a nice looking card too. Like, I can't complain. It's a nice looking card. Last one here is kind of a funny one. This one is a black X Factor. He did actually spend a season with the Marlins. So after he was initially traded, he did spend 1 year with the Marlins. I actually have a very nice patch card of him for the 1 year in the Marlins. This is Topps Finest, 2005. This is the black X Factor, numbered to 25. I believe it's 25. So it's a very nice card. But the reason I got this is twofold. Because again, I have developed an appreciation over the years of getting the guy. Obviously, I would prefer the Blue Jay ones. That is my preference. However, it's a very nice card. It's a nice looking card. And the other reason is because over the years, I have actually been able to accumulate most of the rainbow for that.
Oh, cool.
So right now with that, and I was able to get another one on ComC. So actually where I'm sitting, I can tell you right now, I believe if I read the checklist correctly, other than the superfractor and the one of ones, I'm not counting those, but they're there obviously. But outside of that, I think I'm missing the gold and the gold X Factor. And what's funny is this weekend, I was bidding on the gold X Factor because I happened to catch it by accident. I do wish I had gone. I should have mega bid on it because the
Right?
gold extractor is out of 10.
Oh
And
yeah.
that is the toughest non one of one. But let's put it this way: if I get the gold, which I should be able to get, I will have the complete rainbow minus the one of ones, of course. But they're just nice looking cards, man. Like you got the
Mhm.
fractors and you got the X. They're nice. They're
And
and not expensive. Not expensive.
those older 90, like especially the 90s refractors, they just pop different.
Yeah. And this was still early 2000s, right? Mid 2000s,
Yeah.
but still they did a good job on these. I thought they still looked pretty good. So, but again, this is a player who most people aren't looking at. It's not super expensive. And I'll show something at the end. I'll show something after, but I wanted to start with that. So right now, lately, I've been on a bit of a Carlos Delgado kick, picking up a couple of nice cards for him, and looking out for some other possibilities. So anyway, so Brandon or Eric, I know Eric is at the show. So which one of you guys want to showcase some pickups?
I'll do mine real quick just because I got a
Yeah.
few.
Sure, go for it. All you.
I'll start with this one is baseball. It's the USA Panini USA, but it's Eli Willits, and it's not. I don't know why my camera's not focusing tonight, but it's the blue
Well,
out of
but the thing
100.
is, Brandon, it's focusing on your face. So if you put your hand over the back of the card, it'll actually help the focus, I think.
Yeah, let's see here. Oh,
Yeah,
there
that's
we
it.
go,
There you
a
go.
little bit. All right,
Yep.
it's Eli Willits. Anyway, he was the #1 draft pick this year by the Nationals, and they moved him into. He's actually playing minor league ball now, and he's at Fredericksburg, which is not even an hour from me. And the kid's played 10 games so far, and it's low A, so you know you got to have little bit of recognition here. But 10 games, he's batting like 371, 2 stolen bases, 5 RBI. At 17 years old and coming in, to the minors, he's looking like that he might have some talent. So I wanted to go ahead and get one because I know his Bowman and stuff are going to be expensive. This was pretty cheap, so that's for the Nationals collection. Then I love these 01 EX autos. This is the Todd Heap, obviously Raven, one of the
Nice.
tight ends that they've had throughout the years. That's really good. That was way cheaper than it should have been. And then everybody's favorite, the Topps Black, but
Nice.
this is the Anquan Bolden rookie.
Good.
Obviously a big part of that 2012 Ravens Super Bowl team, and this one is at a 150. So a couple things came in. I bought a bunch over the weekend, so as that stuff starts trickling in, I even had Carlos pick one up on the northern border just because it made more sense that way for a little collection rainbow that I'm working on. So
Yep. Yeah. I already told both of these guys I've got a handful of cards for each of them. For Eric, nothing but Joe Thornton. Only Joe Thornton.
Well, there's a good chance I'll be having to be around him up there in November because usually the Hall of Fame guys come into the show, so there's a good chance I'll be working with him if he comes to the show. So, yay!
Well, I can envision it. Like Brandon, I can see it right now. Looking at it, like it'll look something like this. We're not worthy. We're not worthy. We're scum. It's basically that's all Eric is going to be doing the whole weekend. It's wild. Wow.
Yeah.
So Eric, what do you got? Card show you attended. What's up?
Yeah. So I had a fun day today. Went to a card show in Mansfield, Massachusetts, and the autograph guests were Jerry Cheevers, who just recently did a show in more north of Massachusetts, and this was a southern Massachusetts show. So there's still a lot of people that were excited to see him. So I was just with Jerry like 2 weeks ago, and then again today. Hall of Famer, 2-time Stanley Cup winner with the Bruins. So that was great. Someone who I'm friendly with, Grant Fuhr. It was great to see Grant. He was in town, 5-time Cup winner with Edmonton, Hall of Famer, and Bill Ranford, who I had never met before, former 2-time Boston Bruin. He had 2 stints with the Bruins. And then, of course, he went in between those 2 stints. He went to Edmonton, won 2 Stanley Cups, both against the Boston Bruins. So it it was very nice to meet him, and very, very, very nice guy. He's working for the LA Kings now, working with younger players and things, and very nice guy. I really enjoyed talking to him. But while I had those guys' attention, I had them sign a few things for me. What I like to do is get cheap jersey cards and then have guys sign them, because you open up new wax and you get these cards that are autographed jerseys and they're hundreds and hundreds of dollars. Well, I'd rather just get a $5 card, meet the guy, and have him sign it. It's the same thing. So I had Grant do this one. That's a piece of Oilers game used jersey, and I had him do it in silver paint pen across his chest. So that I'm pretty pleased with. And I had Bill do this one. See if you can see his autograph at the bottom. Another orange piece of Edmonton jersey. He signed the bottom. Had him sign a Bruins rookie card. That came out really nice. I had him do an 8x10. And that's him in his rookie year. So that came out really good. And I had a few other things done. I had a Bruins puck. I had Ranford do a Bruins puck for me. I have a lot of Grant Fuhr stuff because I've had access to him over the last few years. So I only had him do that one card for me, but I had him do a ton of stuff for the shop. Then I went into the show and picked up some cool stuff. I got a Brian Trottier O-Pee-Chee rookie. I have a whole bunch of his Topps rookies. Never had an O-Pee-Chee. Saw it. It's in really
Everything's O-Pee-Chee.
Everything's O-Pee-Chee. It's in really good shape. A little off center, but other than that, really good shape. Picked that up for a very good price. I was very excited about this. Paid quite a bit for it, but I like it. Add to the collection 6970 O-Pee-Chee Jean Bellevue. Le Gros Bill autograph with the Hall of Fame inscription with his number 4. And it is JSA certified. So I was very excited to pick that up. Here's a 68-69 Jacques Lemaire, also autographed. And then what I really got excited about was I'm working on this Bruin set of this is 61, 62. I want to make sure I got it right. And these are all in just really, really good shape. This is Murray Oliver, Doug Mones, Jerry Topazzini. He's Italian, if you didn't know. And Hall of Famer Leo Boivin. So that was some of the things I picked up. There was a couple of other little things, but I don't need to go into all that, But those are the kind of the big things that I grabbed and had a lot of fun. I really do like my job. I like having access to these players and developing working relationships with them over the years and getting stuff signed. It's it hasn't gotten boring to me. And I know a lot of guys that have been doing it longer than me that they are not excited at all. They don't want to take pictures with these guys. They don't want to talk to them. They just want to do the job, get stuff signed, pay those guys off, and then resell the stuff and make money. It's 100% a job work. And like most of people, they hate their jobs. So I still really enjoy it. Meeting these guys, meeting Bill Ranford for the first time today was great. Talking to him, hearing a couple of stories. It's still a lot of fun for me, So it was a good day.
Indeed. It's a pretty good haul, I would say. Fair. And more on that on Friday, but definitely touched on a couple of the key elements. And one thing I will say is the 6162 Topps, I think, is actually a very nice design set. If you check it out, there's actually some really good, again, early 60s. There's some really good early 60s set. If you delve down into the hockeys, early 60s, some of the designs actually hold up quite nicely, all things considered. And I would say that's one that I've always been a little bit partial to from the early 60s. I've got a handful of cards from that, and I would say they're pretty decent. They're pretty fun cards to have. So real quick, I'll share one more item, and actually, this is also kind of a follow up to a story that I think I talked about it on the podcast last week or the week before. But regardless, I'll quickly share it anyway. This was a new pickup that's coming in. A lot of these are just on eBay, and they're coming either directly to me or ship my cards first and then to me. But I'll share them anyway. So here, from Clear Cut, I believe the previous year, the year before, Clear Cut. So here is the Medano on this. This is the exclusives version of the Clear Cut. I have the base version, but we've got this Clear Cut here, and the exclusives is numbered to 35. Now, the reason why this is funny is because this was actually a card, and I'm pretty sure I shared it on a text message thread with Brandon and Eric, is that this is one that there are a couple of copies on eBay. One of them was from a Canadian seller, and I had been going back and forth with them. And this is the one, Eric, I don't know if you remember this, where I literally messaged back after going back and forth with the person a couple of times. I was like, are you really being this stubborn for $4?
Yes.
So this is the same card. It's the same number 35, same thing. So this guy, I was going back and forth with them. I was trying to get and I'm sitting there like, okay, look, I got to pay taxes on this. There's shipping, there's taxes, there's all this other stuff. You understand this, just so we're all on the same page here. And I had offered him $100, and he had come back to me at 104. And I'm like, are you really this hung up on $4? Like, does this really mean that much? Again, with the eBay takes like 13%. So it's like, what are we really talking about? $4. So in the end, he was being stubborn about $4, and he obviously didn't accept my offer or whatever. But he sent the counter offer, and I just let that expire. And I was like, all right, fine, whatever. So I bought this in an auction. I paid for this in auction. Also a Canadian seller, with shipping, with taxes, with everything included. It was under $90.
Nice.
The guy could have just taken my $100 offer, and it would have been with shipping, by the way, on top, and taxes. With shipping, with taxes, was $89 Canadian. And I was like, all right, I accept these terms. Yes. Sometimes people, again, I understood that under the right circumstances, I got to get it cheap. Eric, sometimes I'm willing to pay the convenience tax. It's right in front of me. I like, if we get the deal done. And Brandon, sometimes these sellers, I don't think they understand. Like, look, I'm actually making you a better offer than you're going to get. Okay. Because if you go put it up for auction, as I just said, like I said, that 89 included the shipping and the taxes. That's important because a lot of people don't understand that shipping and taxes obviously has to play into this. The real total on this auction, the auction, was $64.55. So remember, I got to add in shipping and taxes. So taxes, being a real thing. So the reason it gets to $89, the only reason it even gets to $89 is because of shipping and taxes.
Right.
Otherwise, it would be $65. So the point is, my $100 offer was good. It was a good offer.
Yeah, it was.
But the good news is, hey, you get to keep the card. Enjoy.
Yeah.
I got a copy of the card that I wanted.
$4, idiot.
And for $4. Literally, Brandon, for $4.
Yep. Doesn't make sense sometimes.
I found it's a cautionary tale. It's a good story, but it's also a cautionary tale. Sometimes just don't be greedy.
Well, the thing that's stupid with those kind of deals, after you take away the fees and everything, that $4 isn't $4. It's actually you're playing, you're teasing like $2. Like, is it that big of a deal that you didn't make an additional $2? So
apparently it was, and now he gets $0. So like I as DJ Khaled once said, you played yourself. Like what are we doing? Again, I am okay. The reason why I have been able to get some of the items in my collection is that I am okay, quote unquote, overpaying sometimes if it is an item that I wish to have. Yeah. And understanding that I'm overpaying it. I will be the first to tell you that I am overpaying for it. So just to get the deal done, just to be like, here's my offer. No questions asked, done, paid, we're good. Most sellers go like, thank you very much, sounds great. But occasionally you'll get again, for $4, it was the principle of thing. I could have paid the $4, but I'm like, no, this is stupid. Like, I made you a good offer in the first place, and you countered back. It's not like you countered back at $120. No, you counted 104. What for?
No,
literally.
That's just ludicrous.
At that point, you're just counting pennies, and I'm like, I'm not going to play that game. Homie, don't play that.
Yep.
On a on the same note, I was really pleased with the cost of my cards today. We had recently discussed, I remember, I don't think we had a long discussion about it, but the price of cards at card shows, with the dealers being reasonable with the whole comps thing, and with with the prices going up at shows. And I got to tell you, when you hand the guy, right, the guy at the table a stack of cards and say, how much, you have an idea in your head what you're willing to pay, right? You have your max number of what you
Mhm.
think is fair. And when it comes to vintage, that's my wheelhouse. I know what I'm talking about, and I have a number in my head that I think is fair. And I got to tell you, everybody today came in lower than what I had in my head. I mean, that's a good day.
Did you pay them the number you had in your head?
No, I paid lower.
Oh, so you stole from them.
Indeed.
I don't see how that works out, but okay.
Eric,
I
we
stole.
are deferring to the wisdom of the videos in the chat section. You stole from them, you thief, thiefy McThieferson.
Yeah, thief for McFeast. Yeah. But this show was packed. It was advertised as 111 tables. It was absolutely packed. You couldn't even move. They got the bigger room. It didn't even matter. It was just absolutely packed there today. And I went in after the autograph guests went out to sign with the public, right? Because we had them in a private room.
Mhm.
When they went out to sit at the tables, a lot of people left the show floor to go stand in very long lines for these three guys. So I went into the show and started seeing people that I knew, including Matt from Providence and a few other handfuls of people. And they're all telling me this place was a freaking madhouse. You think it's bad now. And I'm like, yeah, this is like almost uncomfortable. It's so many people in here. And he's like, before the autograph guests came out, you couldn't move. I go, I can't move now. He goes, it was worse a half hour ago. So it was a very successful show when it came to foot traffic. And so that's good. So the shows are strong, right? Card shows are strong. People are coming. And I've felt in the last couple of shows I have gone to, the prices have been very, very fair. And today, all the prices were lower than was in my head that I was willing to pay.
Here's a question though, because you mentioned 111 table show, right?
Yeah.
What did these dealers pay to set up? $25, $30, something like that?
I don't know, but yeah, probably something like that. Maybe I would assume.
So those shows, I've said it years ago. The big shows are great because there's a variety, there's a lot to look at, all of that. But when they're paying up on them tables, that's where you get these dealers that set up for museums. I've always said small shows are the best ones to go and find stuff at a reasonable price because the dealer's not sitting there thinking I got to make back $1,500 by the end of the day or I'm going to lose my ass. No, they're looking at, oh, I paid $25, $30, $50. They're making that back in their dime boxes. So they're willing to have realistic, pricing to make some money that day. So
Yeah. I will say one thing. One guy I am friendly with, I've been doing business with him for a long time, and he takes good care of me because he knows he's the first table I show up at, and I always spend money there, right? So that might play into things, but relationships are important in the hobby, right? I mean, going back to the same people and building those relationships and exchanging money and cards for a long period of time, that works out in everybody's benefit. But the other tables I went to, I did not know these guys. One guy, there was the two tables. They looked familiar, like I've seen them at shows. The third guy that I bought these from, I've never seen that guy in my life. So I have no connection, no relationship. I've never even seen him. great. Great deal. So, I know that was a conversation we touched on recently, that prices were getting too high because everyone's sitting there with their phones and they're going back and forth and comps and comps. And these deals were easy. I'd hand them the pile. They'd go, blah, 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 blah. Here's the number. And I'm in my head going, really? Because I would have paid you $30 more. Yes, here's my money. Thank you very much. I'm out of here.
Mhm.
So yeah, it was a great experience at the inside the card show. The autograph stuff was obviously tons of fun. I love that. It's a lot of fun. But being in the show today, very successful. This Bellevue 60, everyone knows who follows this. I collect 6970. It's my favorite set. My goal is to get one whole complete set and then have a whole nother set autographed. Why I started this, I have no idea. I don't know if I'll ever finish it, but that's what I'm doing. And, to get the Bellevue autographed and pay a fair price for it was awesome. This is something I would tend to find at the expo. And today is in Mansfield, Massachusetts. I was like,
Well,
okay,
few people know hockey hotbed, Mansfield, Massachusetts.
Yeah. It's like, of course I'd see this at the expo. This is on, every third table probably, right? You don't see this down here. And it was just like, yep, okay, I'm not passing that up. I'll take that. Thank you.
Works out. So I think it kind of plays, though, kind of that impromptu show report, though, kind of indicates that, yeah, right now there's still very much a hotbed of a lot of activity about it. It's funny, though, because in one of the comment sections that I've seen, the question is like, is it, some people are trying to claim it's like a boom. It's like, yes and no. There are sectors, there are cards, there are categories. Let's put it this way. There's strong attendance at card shows. And there is activity. Like, there are sales happening. Like, that's indisputable. That there is stuff going on in that. And, the high end, some of that stuff's going for pretty good money. But the important thing is that there are a lot of those normal size transactions happening. But it's not every category across the board, because there's some stuff that's just sitting there because some wax is too expensive, so the wax sits. Whereas in the last boom, it didn't matter what it was. Like, it was whatever. Retail boxes, I'll take them. It's like, you don't even know what it is. I take it. I don't care.
Yep.
Like, I'm not even looking what's on the front of the box. I'm not paying. People are paying attention to what's on the front of the box. There is some stuff that will still move. That's no question. But there is other stuff where it's like, no, I'm not interested in that. But I will pay you. Yeah, I'll buy that card from you. Sure. Yeah, I'll buy that, or, pick up that, or I'll make a deal on that. And for the dealers that you were dealing with, Eric, it's good for them because it's a quick deal. Then you don't have to spend a bunch of time haggling. You don't have to. Again, I gave that Medano story because I could have bought that card off a different dealer who was quibbling over $4. He had to have a little bit extra for some bizarre reason, and then he lost the sale entirely because of $4. For $4, he lost the sale. And it would have been a better sale than what the other guy got in an auction, open market, and I was able to get it cheaper. Good for me. But the reality is, one guy lost the sale and the other guy got the sale. But there are items like that all the time. I was looking at a different card where I was willing to pay good money for it. They reached out to me on Facebook. So I'm just giving you this anecdote. They reached out to me on Facebook and they said, hey, I guess they recognized my handle, or they thought it was me. And they go, hey, were you the one who made the offer on this card? And I said, yeah. And their next response was, and this is no joke, the next response was like, what's the best you could do? And I'm like, what I offered you on the eBay, that was my offer. That, yeah. It says best offer. That was my offer.
That was it, dumbass.
Yeah, that was literally my offer. Obviously sometimes people reach out, try to do a deal off eBay or whatever, but regardless, it doesn't matter. Like, the offer I made you was the offer I made you. If you are countering, you counter, but the offer I made you was literally on there.
Yeah.
So what happened was, then they let the offer expire, and then they sent me ping with a bunch of other unlicensed Medano cards and other things that they were asking about. And the thing is, even if I'm interested in that has nothing to do with the first item, because now that offer is expired. Finish the job on the first thing. Like, if you didn't want to sell for that, that's fine, but then offering me other cards isn't going to distract. Like, I made you an offer on that item. That was the actual item I was making. So to be clear, I'm not even my original offer obviously is not expired, but it's also off the table because I'm like, well, I don't even know how to deal with you because you reached out to me randomly and then it didn't go anywhere for a bit. You let the offer expire and then you showed me a bunch of other cards. And it's like, we're not going to do a package deal or something like this. That's off the table. Now, if I make you another offer, it's going to be lower, just to be clear.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh,
I don't like playing games.
No.
If you're a seller, my
Now you
recommendation,
pay the penalty.
yeah, my recommendation, if you're a seller, just deal honestly and forthrightly. Be forthright. Say, hey, I would be interested in getting this. I do have some other things. Would you like to maybe consider doing a package deal? That's how you communicate it. You say, hey, maybe I'd be willing, maybe I could do this with you, but here's some other stuff that you might be interested in. Would you like to do a package purchase on more stuff or whatever? That is a perfectly valid way to follow up. And maybe my answer is no, in which case then you go back to focusing on the first item. Perfectly reasonable. That happens.
Complete the initial interest and then go forward.
Yeah, you want to do some additional sale beyond that. Like, why don't we focus on the matter at hand first? Let's get this piece settled fully. So for me, I'm just sitting there going like, because for me, the reason I said flat out, it's like, no, the offer I made is the offer I made because it's a printing plate. And for the most part, I'm not interested in printing plates. There are a handful, certain scenarios that I am a little bit more interested. And that was one where I was willing to be, oh yeah, I would have honored the offer that I made, but I wasn't going to go higher than that. Because again, it's a printing plate. So for me, like, it doesn't hold as much sway. There were a few handful that are somewhat more interesting to me. But yeah, otherwise I just move on to other things. There's other things out there. So it's like there are plenty I don't need to add more stuff. But there are times where I find some things like, oh, that'd be cool. And if that's kind of my feeling on it, then that's where I'll make an offer. And that's why I say sometimes the sellers get weird, Eric. They overthink themselves. The example that you had of the sellers that you were dealing with there, they'd said, hey, I'm happy to have the sale. Here we go. And then when you said, yeah, no problem, and you handed the money over, deal done, all good, everybody wins.
Yeah. And it's like when you have a reasonable offer like that, I'm instinctively going yes instead of going, well, would you take this? Like there is no haggle. You're pricing it to move. You know, I was expecting you to say this this number. I had this number in my head. I was haggling for this number in my head, and you come in here. I'm okay here. Like I don't even bother trying to haggle. Now, other people would. Some people would suggest I'm foolish because if that's their top number, I probably could get them down a little more if I wanted to sit there and do it. I don't want to.
So this is kind of on the same topic, but a little bit off topic to taking it in another direction because there's something that I've noticed. And for anyone listening, you can try this if you would like. I'm not guaranteeing any success, but eBay is now showing buyers how many watchers are on items, or if the item's in a cart, it's alerting if there's a competitive or someone sending an offer or whatever, right? So you can see the interest level on cards now. Very detailed. You can see who's interested, or not who, but the traffic to the item and everything.
Yeah.
So I noticed this weekend I was adding stuff to my cart, and I had, I think it was like 12 or 13 cards in my cart, and I was basically trying to get different parallels of a card I was looking for, and shopping to try to find the ones at the best price and everything. But what I noticed was almost half of them I wound up, like, just having them in the cart for about a day or two, I wound up getting offers from the seller with 10, 15, 20% off. Now, they weren't expensive cards, but still, when you couple it with free shipping, and even if you're taking, 50, 75 cents to a dollar off of, 5 different cards, you just got a couple cards free, especially when they're cheap. So I was like, that's interesting. And so my point here is, if there's stuff you're interested in and you don't have a fear that someone's going to snag it out from under you, it might be worth just throwing it on the watch or throwing it in your cart or whatever to see if you can snag one of them offers sent over from the seller. Because it was surprising. Like I said, I had 12 or 13 cards in my cart, and it was like 5 or 6 I wound up getting offers on. So it saved a little bit of money on it. So
Mm-hmm. I'd agree with that. It's a tactic that I like to use a little bit with the watch list, because sometimes you'll put something on a watch list and very short order you'll get like an automated offer.
mhm.
And sometimes it's compelling. Sometimes it's interesting. I was showing Eric one that I may end up sending his way, that I got the automated offer. The initial price was okay. I wasn't too. I thought, oh, that's not bad. But then they knock a little bit more off, and I'm like, okay, maybe that might be interesting. It'd be kind of fun to add that. So sometimes that's all it takes. Sometimes that's all the
Yep.
push you need, is to be like, just make it a little bit nicer. In this case, they're taking 14% off. I'm like, okay, that's not bad.
Yep.
That's decent.
All of this stuff here, my new tactic is anytime that eBay's showing me that, well, I have a big quantity of my inventory to where it's just sending the offers automatically. And then
Mm-hmm.
like new stuff, I'll send the offers out myself. But there's this impulse buy strategy that has seemed to be working a little bit, where the sooner you send the offer out to the interested buyer, the more likely that they will complete the sale, because you've grasped their attention. The item's already grasped their attention enough for them to look at it or add it to their watch or whatever. So while they still have that interest, send them that coupon or that offer, whatever, that little discount, and it usually transacts more into a sale than waiting 3 weeks and they might have already bought another one or something and just forgot to remove it off their watch list. So eBay's actually those little details with showing the buyers, the watchers, and all that other stuff. Like that Robles I bought, I was shocked that the seller accepted my offer, because I
Mm-hmm.
came in what I thought was probably lower than I expected him to take. And when the item had 18 watchers on it and it had over 50 views in a 24-hour period, I was like, yeah, he's not going to accept it, but at least I can kind of, maybe he'll counter and give me a ballpark where he's at. He wound up accepting it, so I was surprised there. But the new data that they're feeding both buyer and seller is kind of interesting. So
It's just trying to get activity moving. But right
yep.
now, like I said, right now it's a time where it's interesting, because as some stuff gets overpriced, and we've been very clear on this, some stuff honestly is too expensive. But what's funny is that there are still transactions happening. There's still
Hmm.
people buying other stuff. Now, it might not be the hottest stuff all the time. It might just be normal rank and file stuff, and just be like, oh, that's a cool. Like I said, I showed you guys a couple of items there. Not a lot of people are out there looking for Carlos Delgado cards from the early 2000s and the late 90s. But I saw
Um,
a couple that were fun, and guess what? Those sellers got sales, because I am interested. For me, it's like, oh, that's cool. It's a nostalgia thing for me, and I like the player. And I'll share something in a second. But go ahead, Brandon, make your point.
well, no, I had a question because you
Go ahead.
mentioned earlier in the episode about how people are paying up on Mike Modano now and like what prices are at
Yeah, compared to the
versus.
old years ago. Yeah.
So are you noticing it just in, well, are you noticing it happening more in not just with Medano, even in your wrestling stuff, you might have enough data to compile and compare to. But something interesting, and we were talking about this before we started, and I've even showed my wife this. I'm noticing that the newer products, the prices of the singles, people are trying to get a much higher return, and it might be a guy's 6-year card or something, but they're pricing them and people are buying them at a higher price than, say, their rookie, even some of their rookies or second, third year stuff. And I'm wondering if this is relating to the wax cost, or is it the, I don't want to call it the boom because we just discussed that, but
Yep.
is it the higher audience only focusing on the more now releases that's driving some of these values? Because you, like I told you, I was buying Roble stuff, and some of his 2025 cards are selling more than his rookies. And I'm just like,
Mhm.
why in the hell are people paying this? Like, it's not making any sense there. So
Yeah. I think there's a couple of factors that kind of layer on each other. One of them is yes, the higher price of the boxes it makes people try. Whether they succeed or not is a different conversation. But it means that when they open the box, so let me give you a tangible example. I'll use the wrestling for a second, but let me give you a tangible example. The new product is the Cactus Jack, the Topps Chrome Cactus Jack WWE. That's the brand new one. It's really tough to pull autographs out of it. It's not guaranteed an autograph per box. The pre-order price from Fanatics was $400 US per box. It's not cheap. It's very expensive. And that's the pre-order price. Secondary market, some people were paying $500 and change. Now, it has started to creep down because people are noticing that you're not able to pull a lot in most boxes. Most boxes, you're paying $400 or $500. It's somewhere between in that range. And you're getting like $50 worth of stuff. Now, the problem is that some people are sitting there going like, okay, well, even though they have $50 worth of stuff, they're trying to get $250 out of it. Mm-hmm. So they're pricing certain, but then the people are looking at the singles going, yeah, that's not worth that. I'm not going to pay that. No. So what happens is some of the stuff sits. So some stuff is selling very well. Like if you get the right character in the right situation, I'm using this as an example, but we could change it to baseball. We could change it to basketball, do whatever you want. It's the same principle. Some characters are able to sell well because the market is hot for them. The starting price that people are trying to get is higher because the product is so expensive out of the block. They're trying to recoup. The problem, if this same box was $150, they wouldn't be trying as hard. But because it's $400 or $500 out of the block, they basically have to. They don't have a choice. Whereas, by contrast, in the AEW one that I talked about a couple of weeks ago, the AEW Metal, the cards that are coming out, some of the bigger ones, are not selling for as much. But the box price is already lower to start. The box price was 165 Canadian, so it's like 115, 120 US. Yeah, that's not cheap, but it's easier for somebody to pull some stuff in a $120 box and then try to recoup some of their money, as opposed to a $500 box and try to recoup some of their money. So it means that if you pull a half decent single, maybe you'll try to sell it for $50 instead of $150. Well, the $50 one at least gives you a better chance of actually making the sale. Well, if you make the sale at $50 and you start at 120, well, now you're only down 70. And now you got a couple other cards maybe you can sell. And by the time you're done, you didn't have an amazing box. Well, you got 65 or 70 bucks out of it, 80 bucks out of it. Well, congratulations. You're only down 40 bucks on a bad box.
Right.
You have a bad box on the $500 box. You lost $450. You got destroyed. You didn't just lose. You're buried underground right now. You are so far underground, you're not going to be able to dig your way out of it very easily. So that forces people to try to get more for it. Where certain characters or players, if we're talking sport, warrant it, you can try to use that temporarily, briefly, during a window when the product first comes out. You might be able to get away with it. Well, guess what? Wait 3 months and try to sell the same thing and see what happens.
Yeah, I one that stood out to me was when I was doing the 2020 Roleplay stuff, and I bought his Memorial Day camo, which is out of 25, and I think I paid like $4.20 or $4.24 or something like that for the 2020 one. And then I seen his 2025 one, same thing, Memorial Day camo, out of 25. I'll give it a little bit extra because he is in the Mariners uniform.
Sure.
And the image is kind of interesting with him blowing the bubble. But someone bought that one at, I believe it was $22. And I'm thinking, who in the hell is buying a 2025 Victor? Like, that's his 7th year card for $22 when I'm buying the 2021 for $4. So it was just kind of interesting there. And I do think it all attributes to box price, and the audience is larger now. So, I don't think people are looking back that far. They're like, oh, I want now. I don't want then. I want now. So it's just kind of interesting how it's playing out and with the prices and stuff.
Yeah. A lot of times it'll be temporary. Like something will work for a little while and then things change as you go along. That's why I say, like, what I've observed is that initially in the first blitz when the product came out, you're able to get better prices like anything else. You're able to get the better sales, but some people get too greedy, and because they got too greedy out of the block, then the stuff sits for a bit, and all of a sudden they have to start desperately dropping the price. And then guess what? Now everybody can see that you're trying to catch a falling knife. Now you've done yourself in. You're Mr. Counter for $4 more to try to get $4, and you lose the deal entirely. Like, and it actually will hurt you in the long run. Whereas if you had been kind of reasonable at the beginning, you might have been able to get a little bit more because it was early release, but you were never going to fully recoup unless you pulled the monster. If you pull a monster, hey, who cares, right? You pull a monster card, hey, fine, that'll get you back your money for the box and then some. But most people aren't going to pull that card. They're just not. So, and they're trying to recoup it, and it's like, well, I wish you luck. It's not easy. It's going to be very difficult. All right. So let's quickly
losing $100 over $4. That just seems stupid to me. I'm not
strategic.
I'm not good at the maths. But why would I lose $100 over $4? I don't get it.
Well, not even the full $4. Don't forget about the eBay fees on that. So is that really even the full 4? You're not even getting the 4 either way.
Right.
Strategy.
Yeah. I don't get
strategy.
Whatever.
Yep. So real quick, I'll touch on what I wanted to quickly touch on. This will be a quick trip down memory lane. I'll put the links in the description for you folks. I'll give you the quick high level, and we'll just touch on it for a minute, and then we'll wind her down on this one. Again, for the most part, this episode was just us having some fun with pickups and with silly card of the weekend with Eric's new favorite poster of all time. Long con.
He's gonna hang it above his bed.
It's gonna be amazing. Oh my god, amazing. So anyway, what I was going to say was what led me down this path was on Friday. We had Mike Ham on, and we talked about a lot of things. Hopefully you folks enjoyed. You seem to be enjoying it in the chat anyway. Ham is not shy, so he was certainly willing to. For the most part, it was a night off for me. It was funny. It was a night off for me, and ironically, a night off for Eric. Eric got to do his sorting. It was we had a lot of that going on. But it worked out great because he and Bobby were going back and forth for the most part, and like I could have stopped them, but they were doing great. They were doing great.
Fantastic.
Why interrupt it? Why interrupt it? So it was good. We appreciated that he joined in, and I had a nice chat with him after the fact. But one of the things he mentioned that I did think was interesting was we were talking about one of my favorite topics, content, but specifically talking about, what draws people to certain types. And he was kind of pushing the notion that, higher production values or more editing or something to that effect, increasing the quality in that sense, in that version of category of it, could be an avenue to, push the views up and get that additional traction and do all that stuff. And it's not the first time I've heard this. And there is some concept to it. And I guess my answer, high level, and this also goes back into Carlos playing around with AI. The picture wasn't the only thing. I actually did some other stuff with AI. I had a little fun with it. But what I was curious about was I wanted to kind of think about it. I went down a rabbit hole. So I took that original idea and I took it down the rabbit hole. And I went back in time in this channel. And like I said, I'll leave a link in the description. I went back in time to about 3 years ago. Everybody's favorite, Eric's personal best friend, second only to Marcel, the Hoge. So Chris Hoge. Back then, I'll just give you guys a refresher, and then you can always watch the video and you'll get the full breakdown. But the refresher was, at the time, he was kind of railing against the content at the time. And he was being very judgmental about it and looking at it from the perspective. So his angle at the time was he wanted to attract kind of money players. Michael Saylor was the specific person that he was kind of arguing towards. And he was talking about more scholarly content. And that's where the hashtag scholarship joke got its start, was back then. So I'm just giving you this background, just Basically, but at the time, though, remember earlier where I said we were having a conversation about the comment section? So I'm actually going to tie this into this episode. Remember earlier when I was talking about the comment section where I said where Mangini was doing his video and talking with Scott and doing all these other things, and they were kind of almost arguing different arguments. And the reason I said that is because we're talking about delivery here. What you intend to say versus what you actually said versus how it's interpreted based on the delivery, the way you present it, the words you use. The words do matter because how you present something. If you want to say that something's being taken too literally, that's fine. But then you have to assume a segment of the audience is going to take it more literally than others. Some people are going to leave it open to interpretation. Some people are going to take it literally. So your goal is to find the happy medium where you convey it in whatever language gets it to the majority of people so that the majority of them understand what you're actually trying to say. That's the important thing. The big piece of communication is you want to make sure if your message isn't reaching the audience, then you're not a good communicator. It doesn't matter if you can talk. Being able to talk, being able to say big words, being able to, seemingly articulate very well. If the audience is not getting your message, then you are not a good communicator. If there's opening to misinterpretation, that's the opposite of good communication.
True.
It doesn't matter if you sound articulate. The audience needs to understand what you're actually saying, not what you think you're actually saying. So what happened with Chris Hoge back then is he thought he was trying to deliver this message, but he did a very sloppy job of it at the time. And because of the way he took to it, there was a lot of backlash and a lot of pushback. So he went on, long forgotten, long gone, Sports Card Anonymous YouTube channel. If you go look for it, you're not going to be able to find it. I think he changed the name of it, but anyway, Dakota's still around. We always joke about the Discord. Dakota is the one who set up the Discord. So he's still around and we chat, obviously, but he's not actively making things on YouTube. Back then, though, he was still actively making videos. He did a live stream with Chris Hoge and Christina from Card Ladder, and they were talking about this exact thing. And he was going back and forth with them and trying to understand, kind of, giving them some rope and trying to be like, hey, you said this. What are you meaning with it? And they kind of went around in circles. I made a video back then responding to it. And speaking of the cold content thing, trust me, this will play into the ham comment in a second. I promise. I made a response video to it. And the production value was, I did it on StreamYard. I did a screen share and I played clips from, basically I hit play and I played segments from the conversation they were having. And then I would pause and then I'd break down what I disagreed with or give some thoughts of it. I was throwing in some jokes with it. I brandished a book at one point, #scholarship. And I had a whole bunch of fun. It was very clear I was having fun with it. But at the same time, I also did break it down quite a bit into detail, to the point that maybe I took about 30 minutes worth of that conversation and I turned it into an hour and a half. So I'm breaking every rule of YouTube here. I am making a super long form thing out of a smaller piece. I'm reacting to it. The production value isn't much because all I'm really doing is just sharing a screen, playing a little bit of a clip, hitting pause, talking, explaining, and then hitting play again, and then talking, explaining, hitting play again. And I'm doing this for 90 minutes. Funny thing, that video took off quite a bit at the time. Compared to the size of my channel at the time, that video did extremely well. The engagement on it was great. The conversations that it led to were great. We were on a Friday live stream that week, and we had plenty of people in there in the chat hanging out and talking about this exact same thing. We had Bob Lewis on, no less. My goodness. Wow. Luminaries. My goodness. But you know what's funny? It led to an excellent conversation. People enjoyed it. I even had to do a part 2 because it was demanded, Eric. The people demanded. They wanted the director's cut extended version. They wanted the rest. So I did that. And the second video, by the way, also did well. So my point, though, is that kind of contradicts what Ham was saying, though, because that was relatively low production. Did I have some editing? Yes. But it was mostly just to cut out the dead air between the clips that I was playing. The actual amount of stuff going on the screen was very minimal. Like, I'm playing you a clip, I'm there, but in reality, like, there's no bells, there's no whistles, there's not really a lot going on. But the thing is, people, when I go to the average watch time on that video, it was very good. So the funny thing is that people still stuck around, even though it was relatively low production. Isn't it weird how that works? It's kind of interesting. So I'm laying the groundwork here, and I'm saying that it is interesting. I actually think, my opinion, my stance on this, and this is basically my thought, and I'll share, and I'll let you guys kind of take over here. My belief is that good editing, good production values and all that, I think they can enhance something. If you already have something, I think it can add to it. If you've got a decent message, it can elevate it and make it better. If you've got kind of an average, mediocre message, you could still make it good with slick editing and some good production and everything. You can make it at least a little more compelling to watch. But you can't take bad content and irrelevant conversation and make it good. No amount of editing is going to fix that. Because if it's empty, if it's nothing, then it's still going to feel empty or nothing, no matter how much production you throw onto it. So first, initial thoughts on that. Either one of you who wants to take it.
Good content will always trump, flair. I mean, you can set off fireworks in the background, but if you're not saying anything that's going to connect with the people watching, they're going to get bored really quick. They may come in, watch the fireworks, ooh, ah, but after a while, they're going to be like, all right, well, I'll move on. But if whoever is putting out content can keep them there with what is actually being said and the information being given, you don't need as many distractionary fireworks. So I think it always, content always trumps flair.
Sure. Brandon, what do you think?
So a couple things on it. For one, I've always said, and this may not relate to everybody, but when I've done videos personally, the videos that I've took time to do research, to break things down, to think, oh man, this one's going to be a hit. People are going to love this. People are going to be interested. Those videos usually suck. The ones that I get on and they're just, I don't expect to do very well, those are the ones that usually hit and take off. It's funny how that works. And I'm not even talking the editing side or any of that. I'm just talking the preparation and like the subject matter of the video.
Mm-hmm.
The other side of that, and I'm going to use what we're doing right now. There's nothing fancy here. He has the intro thing with the music. We have a little bit of laughs, the cackle, that kind of stuff. We got this fancy scrolling ticker bar. The little,
Hey, Brandon, hold
border.
on. Eric, hold on. Is he downplaying? Hold on.
I mean, yeah, we have the works here. But no, on a serious note, people don't realize we normally don't know. We get on here about 8 o'clock. We're like,
usually I'll
Carlos will be
come
like,
on
"Oh,
10,
I got
15
this,
minutes.
this." We might
Usually I'm
talk
on there
about
10 or
this.
15 minutes earlier and I'm chatting with you before Eric comes by.
Yeah. Well, I get on and I'm messing around or whatever, and then
Yeah.
whenever you pop on, but we don't sit here and like have this storyboarded out, or we don't even really know what topics are going to lead to each other. A lot of times it's just, hey, we're going to talk about this. We're going to go over silly card of the week. We're going to go over some pickups, and it flows from there, right? It's not the high production value, but what happens? We still get a decent, and we're not blowing up thousands upon thousands of views, but there's an audience there that enjoys it. And that's important, especially on a podcast format. Capturing an audience that enjoys and will listen or watch or what have you. So that's another example. I'm going to take it away from YouTube a bit. And this may not be for everybody, but I enjoy watching documentary type stuff. And a lot of times, the stuff that you're watching on there is stuff people were recording on cell phones back in like 1990 or whatever. It's not high quality 4K definition with fancy editing and all of this. The production value is low. They just took a bunch of clips or whatever, pieced it together, and then they got some people there that they're interviewing. It's pretty simple. I enjoy that a lot more than probably multi-million-dollar production movies or whatever. So it's all about capturing your audience. It doesn't necessarily have to be fancy with all the bells and whistles.
I agree for sure. And one I'll include, it'll be a little bit fun for me. I'll actually include on there one channel that I watch. It's TJ Maxx. His what I would call that there is editing, and it's what's interesting about it is he's got a little bit of music in the background, a little bit of editing into it, but not crazy. That's what's interesting. But what's next on there is that it's the storytelling, because the video in question specifically was him talking about why he collects Mickey Mantle cards, basically. And what happened? But what happened is he had a story, and the story linked his father's childhood, it linked his childhood, and that linked to his children. And he was able to then incorporate Kmart and talk about that and talk about some cards related to it that got him interested in certain, because he kind of was aged out by the time Mantle's career was done, by the time he was watching baseball. But there was a connection there. And then there was a baseball card connection to it. So what happens is by the time you're done, you're actually watching this thing. There is an actual storyline narrative thread. And that's one thing that I actually think he does extremely well. That's one of those specific ones that I enjoy, because as soon as you've got that on there, basically what you're looking for is, when you're watching or listening, it can be the production, it can be all these things, or it could be something as simple as, okay, let me tell you a story. And what's funny, and this is something that I've kind of joked about, but also it's true, and that's why I have a little bit of fun with it, is that by the time it was done, he does show some cards because obviously he did end up collecting Mickey Mantle. So he's got some Mickey Mantle cards that he'll show. But the cards were weaved into the story. It was part of the story to explain why in the first place. So by the time he's done, the video was a little under 15 minutes. It was 14 minutes and 39 seconds. But in 14 minutes and 39 seconds, he was able to tell a narrative story thread, include a couple of pictures, a clip from Mickey Mantle hitting his 500th home run, I think it was, but incorporated into the rest of it, show some Kmart cards, and that's basically how all this came in. That was effective storytelling. A little bit of editing, yes, but it wasn't the slickest editing. It wasn't like super crazy editing, but there definitely was some care taken into the images he showed and the sequencing of them. So I'm not saying there's none. There's definitely a thought process of I'm going to show this picture and then I'm going to show this picture and that's how it's going to play. And as I'm talking, it's going to kind of play with the story. But as long as the story was good, that enhanced it. So if you're watching it, you could literally just be listening to the guy and you're still getting something out of it. But then you look at the pictures and the way he was showing certain things that enhanced the presentation. It added to it. It elevated it, right? Whereas if you take nothing, then there's nothing there. Then obviously it's not going to work. The reason I said it's kind of funny is that it's direct contrast to what I've done with the vintage rummage. That was mostly just kind of fun for me. It's kind of a thing. Very low effort kind of videos to make, honestly. They just are. If people just want to see some cards, there you go. But there's no music in the background. I really don't have any elaborate stories, Brandon. These are cards that I picked up in group lots because I had an idea that I was going to do a run of sets. I didn't end up doing that. So now they've been sitting in a box for years. And they are in order. I'll go through them. I might have a couple of things to say about a couple of the cards along the way, but for the most part, Brandon, they've been sitting in a box for years for a reason. I wasn't working on the set anymore. Not surprisingly, a couple of people are enjoying it, but a lot of people watched the first one and then they kind of tuned out. Because unless there's something else to it, like, what's the hook, right?
Mm-hmm.
I also did it kind of on purpose because I kind of wanted to see how much or how little was the cards. Because a lot of people say, oh, show cards, show cards. Brandon, by definition, those videos could not, by capita, there is very little extra other than showing cards. That is 99.9% of the video is showing cards, and most people do not give a shit.
Yep.
That's okay, by the way. I'm not offended. No, I'm not offended in the slightest.
That theory isn't just what people will say that they want one thing, but those videos don't ever hold true to what the people will say. It's the same thing in reselling. You can do a poll, and the majority of people will be like, oh, I want to watch the what sold because that's actually telling me what's selling and for how much and this and that. You do what sold videos, they hardly ever get watched. The people that are going out to the sales and recording when they're finding stuff, those are the ones. And it's a matter of the entertainment factor captures more of an audience than sitting there just showing something. And it's kind of the same way with cards. A show video, people will watch. You're going around showing stuff at the show. You show a mail day video. Most cases, not many people really care what you got in your mailbox.
Yeah, I think that's the reason why I wanted to have the contrast to it is because, as I said a moment ago, I'm not offended in the slightest about those videos, not exactly drawing gangbuster views, because I understand that if we don't have, that's why I said I could spruce up the production on it. I could add a bunch more editing and do some stuff and play around with it a little bit. But here's the thing, Eric, it's really hard for me to sell it when there's no story.
Right.
There's no story. These are kind of just a pile of cards that I accumulated over a while. Some of them are very nice cards, by the way. That's why I say I took a minute. One of the I think Bob Boozle, I think it was in the comments, enjoyed that I took a second to admire the Don Mossy card because Don Mossy is notoriously an ugly man. So people enjoy kind of seeing exactly. So I took a second to admire the Don Mossy card for a second because, hey, what the hell? But Brandon, I don't have a story related to it. In contrast to that TJ Maxx video, he had a great story. A nice story that kind of fit multiple generations and explained this and added that. I actually think it was very well done. That's why I'm going to put it in the description. If you guys haven't had the chance to see it, check it out. This is the polar opposite. He did show some cards, but the story, the narrative was the most important. If you didn't see anything on the screen, you would still get the story out of it. so there's still a good storytelling element to it, then the images and everything adds to it. It enhances it. But for those videos, I could add a bunch of bells and whistles to it, and it's not going to make it terribly more interesting because, again, I can't pretend I'm more excited than I am on it because, again, it's just a pile of cards that I accumulated. There's some nice cards in there, but I'm not collecting the set. And I'm not particularly passionate about most of the players that are in that set. So what do you want me to add in there that's going to make it more exciting?
Yep.
Maybe I have to get the fireworks. Eric? Let's
Yep.
get the fireworks going.
Light 'em up.
Yeah. So what I'm going to do, and just that's why I say I'm explaining this because I'll be very forthcoming. I'll finish the series. My intention was to do about 6 episodes, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do the 6 episodes, and then we'll probably retire it because really there's no purpose to it beyond that. I've still got lots of stuff that I am more passionate about that I can talk to more. But again, these are just, it's literally exactly what there's no clickbait. It is a vintage rummage through a couple of boxes that I have of cards that I've accumulated over the years that are sitting in that box. And then when I'm done recording in the video, they go back in the box. That's all that happened. Quite the story, quite the harrowing tale. Everything's OPG.
Everything is OPG.
Now, by contrast, that video that I talked about from 3 years ago with the Hoj and everything, I had a lot of passion with it. I had fun. I was very clearly having fun. I was having a good time. It was very obvious watching the video. Even watching it back, I could tell I was having a good time because I was looking at it. I'm like, this guy's saying ridiculous things. Now I'm going to make fun of it. And I'm going to make fun of it again. See, back to rule number 5. There are no sacred cows. The new rule number 5. That Brandon with the $1 Million Man clips and the playing here and the Marcel Dion poster, I have more fun doing this. It's just more fun for me. And it shows. I think that is more important than just production values. I think it's very clear that you are enjoying it. You're engaged in it. You're probably going to have to do a much better job presenting it if that comes across. If it doesn't feel like you're faking it, if it feels like, no, actually, this person is look, I am very enthusiastic about this Marcel Dion poster. And Eric's face when I showed it, that was gold, Jerry. Gold!
Bannon.
And I was very clearly enjoying it. So that's why I say that comes across. And I think some of this other stuff, it doesn't matter how much editing we put on it, it's not gonna make it something if it's not. I would love to see somebody I would love to almost have somebody do a supercut of the vintage rummage and try to make it more interesting. Maybe add some music in the background or something. I don't know. You'd have to do something.
I've tried the music thing before. A lot of people will say they hate it because if you don't have it as like the right tone of elevator music or whatever at the right volume, people will hate it. So I don't suggest the music.
Wait, so are you suggesting that my intention to go death metal wasn't gonna
Yeah, I've
Eric,
tried music in the
1958
video
tops and
before,
death metal. Let's
people hated it.
go.
I could get into that.
I'm just saying.
I will
it could
say
work.
there you mentioned something about like earlier, I think it was before we started recording. You like had reviewed a video or something and took out dead air. It's amazing. Like I'm pretty sure I can't remember what the program is, but there's like editing tools out there now that are like AI, and you just put the video in there and it detects all of you can have it take out if you say or hesitate or all of those breakpoints, and it'll just crop it out and put your video right back together. And I'm like, holy shit, where was that at a few years ago? Because I know I say a lot or when I'm recording videos, because I'm trying to, I don't have it written out here what I'm going to say. So sometimes you're trying to think of what you want to get out. But yeah, so
yeah, I just think it was interesting. Like I said, it was a good thought exercise for me. I'm going to include a link in the description to the content video that I talked about, the critique on the Hoj, because again, I actually think it was some of my best work. Going back and watching it, honestly, I think it was like I would love to be able to do that all the time. But the thing is, you need the right impetus. You need the right thing to play off of. And it just so happens that at that time we still had, and maybe this is one more thought that I'll kind of play on. And we can always revisit this conversation again. It's one of my favorite topics. But here's something, food for thought. Maybe part of the reason is it's so difficult to get that kind of thing more often is because, and this is something that a lot of the critics of the current content aren't getting. What happens after a while, Eric, is after you've said certain things enough times, even you become bored by the repetition of it. You can only deliver the same message so many different ways, so many different times before it's like, yeah, but I've already said that. I've already talked about that exact thing. So do I just repeat myself verbatim? Do I try to put some kind of a twist on it, but in reality, my opinion hasn't changed? Or do I just say, you know what? Let me defer you back to the old video. Because I literally said it back then. I was a little younger. I had a little more energy and I delivered, but everything I said then, I stand by. I am still in agreement with the words that were stated back then. And I feel like I can't do it better now, even though I've had more time because my opinion hasn't changed. If my opinion has changed, maybe there's something new I can add and bring to the table, but otherwise, no. I've said that piece. So I think that hurts. So in a way, the longer you've got a channel or a podcast or whatever, if you've already talked about this enough times, it's going to be real tough to bring something new to the table. It's going to sound like you're like, yeah, you're just going through the motions. Yeah, because we already talked about this. We've explained it at length. So that's why I say I'll put a link in the description. You can check out that one. You'll get a bit of a compare and contrast. It's kind of funny listening to it. And also check out the TJ Maxx one. Because again, this is somebody who actually is taking very careful time and building narratives around what they're doing. They're not just showing cards. They're actually building a narrative to it. I think they're doing it very well. So I want to kind of highlight that because I think they're doing it excellently. So for me, that's good. That's good content because they've done a good job with it, weaving the story in, and what they're showing is enhancing it. But I think bottom line, though, to what Ham was saying, I don't think the editing and production value is going to fix something. If you don't have it, all the slick production quality in the world isn't going to fix it.
Nope. Not even a little bit.
You have to have the content or the topic or whatever, and ideally, it should come across that you are engaged in it. You are interested in it. I think the audience can tell when you're just mailing it in.
Mm-hmm.
On those vintage rummage ones, for the most part, I'm mailing it in. I'm just going to be 100% honest. I kind of committed to doing it as kind of an experiment. For the folks that do enjoy it, I hope you do. I'm still going to finish it. I've got 3 more episodes planned. And when I'm done that's probably going to be it. But I don't blame anybody if they're not getting much out of it because, again, it's literally just showing cards. That's the reason why I don't do it in 95% of these episodes. Because, again, I collect these for me. So I think everybody has to figure out what it is they're going to do. And what's funny, Eric, is even before we started recording, I was filling in a Z folio. Look at how much shiny stuff is going on here.
That is some shiny.
Yeah. You know what's funny though? This is the Carlos Delgado Z folio that I have. Eric, there are cards here that are like numbered to like 30 and 24 and all that, and they're in here. Like really low numbered stuff and some tougher stuff, and I've got it in here in a Z folio, and it was just hilarious to me going through it. I was like, yep. Because I'm not worried about it. For me, it's just fun to flip through the pages and look at it. Stuff like that, though, is interesting for me. I have fun with that. But I think that's the key. If the person presenting the video or whatever is not having fun, it's going to be really hard to try to convince you otherwise, no matter how much editing you're going to do. Now, with that said, while Brandon is off for a minute, I am going to share with you one more thing. I will leave a link in the description to this for you as well. This is brand new. This was just dropped yesterday, but I think it'll be an interesting comparison to what I was talking about at the time. If you do go to the description and you do check out my episode talking about the good content and the hose and everything, this is the newest episode of Stacking Slabs. It's called Passion to Profession, going all in with Chris McGill from Card Ladder, the hose, the aforementioned hose, and they did have a conversation just yesterday. This episode dropped. And it talked about a couple of different things, including how content became the backbone of Card Ladder's growth, the role of trust, what the line between product and content is thinner than most people think. I think I would say, Eric, if you do sit down and check out the video that I included, this is a good contrasting piece because there are some things that I talked about in there that are very interesting in context 3 years later. Very interessante. Just saying. Interesting. If you hang around, the point is, if you hang around long enough, these things come back around. They really do. And the internet never forgets.
Never. It doesn't, does it?
No, it does not. So, some thoughts on that. So real quick, before we finish up, I know Brandon just took off for a minute, so if he doesn't come back, then we'll sign off either way. But any other thoughts on that though? Like I said, for me, you can make entertainment, education, information, or both. I think editing can add, enhance, it can do all those things, but yeah, it's not going to fix. It better be interesting, and you better sound like you're interested in it. Otherwise, it's not going to work.
Yeah, no, that's I said that. You can have all the fireworks you want, but if you don't have somebody that's going to keep you there, the fireworks may get someone to click on it, but if the content isn't there, they're not sticking around. So
Yep. I think I'd have to agree with that. So what we'll do is we'll wind down on that bombshell. That'll conclude this episode. Hopefully you enjoyed. Again, it was more kind of a fun, lighthearted episode for the most part. We did focus, ironically, more on the cards than we did on a lot of the other stuff. So there you go. That's something to think about. That said, more videos coming up on the channel. Live streams on Fridays at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Longest running episodic, whatever it is, we don't know. And now we're on the countdown. We're on the road to the expo.
Oh yeah, and I got new shoes, and they are comfortable.
Whew.
And I did
Gonna
get
be
the New Balance.
That is very, very exciting.
That's what old men, especially old white men, that's what old white men buy. New Balance.
That'll teach them.
Yeah.
So Eric Sanderson or known sponsored athlete of New Balance.
Yeah.
You might as well.
Yeah.
You might as well be.
It's
Might as well be sponsored.
It's the shoe for the old white man. They don't even stink yet. I've only worn them. How long is this show? 2 hours. They don't even stink yet.
Or you could always throw them in the washer.
Yeah, good. Just throw them in the washer.
You've been known to do that. That could be a thing. That could work out. Yeah. So Brandon, before we fully sign off, I've already mostly done it. But any last thought on that, or just we're good with kind of what we talked about? Any last thought you want to throw in there?
No, I mean, I don't. I said it before. Like, you can shine a turd and it's still a turd. So, I don't think editing is the answer or solution to everything on a video. It's got to be the content itself too. So.
Sounds good. And for that, we have Brandon, Bobbles and Ball Cards, known associated 540 Flips, and collector of the Robles. Maybe we'll showcase that in a future video. But hopefully, in the comment section, curious about your thoughts. Again, if you want to check out any of the stuff that I include in those links, I'd like to get your thoughts on that as well. Feel free to hit the like button if you didn't already previously, because like I said, that right there was a magnum opus on this channel. I was very proud of it. Going back and kind of revisiting it, I was like, man, that was pretty good. I remember that, Carlos. I remember that guy back in those days. We were all so young. And Eric.
Oh, yeah, I'm old.
And if you ever check out the live stream from around that time, we did have a follow-up live stream that week. And in the follow-up live stream, we had Dakota from Sports Code Anonymous on it. Eric was off. He was in the chat because he had just gotten hip replacement surgery at the time. That was during the time period of that. So you were actually not on that episode, but you were there in spirit from the chat department. And bonus for the OGs, there was a Justin appearance. And when I say an appearance, I mean literally an appearance. When I went back and rewatched it, Eric, I was like, man, I was on fire back then. That was good. That was good. That was highlight worthy right there.
Oh boy.
There's a spoiler for you if any of you know what the storied history of Justin on this channel. Anyway, that's it. So for that, again, check out all the links and everything related to it. AMG Collectibles is there as well. Appreciate their patronage of this podcast and the channel. For us, episode 143 in the books. That's it. Have a good one. We'll catch you in the next one.